What's going on there, Marie?
So we're running out of room.
Oh, for what? What are those things?
Time to polish
Oh,
the
that's
birds, Tim.
oh, that's the aviary, Aquontis. I wanted you to see the aviary. That's what are those? Oh,
they're collecting dust.
They're collecting dust. Yeah. So though I'm just having a little fun this morning. So that is the eagle that you get from Coldwell Banker for being in the top 10 GCI for the world, essentially.
Wow.
There's a couple.
You've got like 500 or what?
I've got a lot. Just having some fun with you. You see some in the back there too. We call it the aviary.
7, 8, pretty much.
Okay.
Here.
I don't think there's any others in the peninsula here, but anyway, I was just having some fun with you. That's Marie, by the way. You're probably looking at this going, what's going on in the background?
Hey, I'm just. Hello, everyone. Today, I've got something real special for you all. As everyone knows, thanks to all of your support, I was awarded Best New Agent for 2020 by the Monterey Herald. I realized this would be a great opportunity to sit down and have a conversation with not only the best agent in Monterey County, but one of the top agents in the Coldwell Banker family. I'm very humbled to be joined today by none other than Tim Allen of Tim Allen Properties. Now, if you've been to our area at all, you know Tim is not only a consistent leader in the real estate industry, but an essential community figure. How you doing?
Morning. I'm good.
Good morning.
How's
I'm
life?
glad to see you. Life is interesting, you know, having to deal with the pandemic and everything, you know. How about you?
It's been interesting, exhilarating, exciting, scary, but all in all, I would say I love it. I love life. and to go through periods like this that are change and have challenge and where you need to be on your game and work is like incredibly demanding, but there's so many people that could use help, and I love it, to be honest. You know, but it's hard because I know that so many people have suffered through this.
One of the big things that I learned as a manager at Best Buy for the 8 years that I was there is you learn from challenge and change. So a lot of the time it was all about, hey, you know, okay, cool, the company's changing, we're restructuring, our customers are changing, but you learn from it and move forward and be successful in that. So yeah, I definitely agree wholeheartedly with, it's been scary, it's been exhilarating, it's been interesting. Like even just this year so far, I think has started out a lot better than last year, and I'm extremely excited about it.
Cool. So you were a manager at Best Buy?
Yeah. I was a manager at Best Buy for a very long time. You know, I actually had a client contact me recently that I had at Best Buy, and I've nurtured that relationship for probably like 7 years. And they're looking to sell their house in San Martin. So it's great. It's great.
How do you pronounce your first name? Aquontis?
Aquontis.
Aquontis. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I spent a lot of money at Best Buy.
A lot of people do.
Yeah,
Trust me, a lot of people do.
Mostly in your TV section.
Exactly. Yeah. But Tim, thank you for taking the time to talk with me today. Like, I really do appreciate it.
Well, absolutely. I love it. You know, it's fun to do. I love helping other people. So tell me a little bit, you know, I got a little brief introduction. So you're Coldwell Banker and you're Rookie of the Year in our area, or?
So I actually got Best New Real Estate Agent in the Reader's Choice for Monterey Herald. Okay. And that was for last year. I started with Coldwell Banker in October of 2019. My parents are actually brokers with Coldwell Banker in North Carolina. Cool. I have a vested interest in the company because, you know, they talk so well about it and they're very, very, very successful with it. So, you know, one of the videos that I made last year was talking about like how I chose my brokerage, because my dad was like, look, you need to interview everybody you can. I don't care that I work for Coldwell Banker. You need to interview every brokerage possible to make sure that there's one out there that's going to teach you how to sell homes, that's going to, really give you the tools to be successful, and not, just say, hey, thanks for hanging your tag with us. Get out there and sell.
Yeah.
So
how long were your parents in the business while you grew up?
So my mom started in 2008. They both are military veterans. They were both in the Army for 20 plus years. My mom decided to get out and do real estate for a little bit, and then the market crashed. So she was like, all right, never mind.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to go back into the Army.
Yeah, that was an interesting time. Yeah.
Yeah. And so my dad retired about 4 years ago now, and he decided real estate was going to be his thing. And then my mom retired about a year and a half ago, and they started a team in Fayetteville, North Carolina. And they're definitely one of the top teams there.
Wow, that is awesome. It's so interesting because I got into real estate. I graduated from college with a business degree from UC Santa Barbara in 1984. And I came back up here. I was living on my mom's couch for a while and not sure what I wanted to do. At one point, I was thinking of starting this honey baked ham business, and I was thinking, and then I thought real estate. My good friend was involved in real estate. So I just plunged right into it. So it's been my career my whole life. But I have, which is 37 years. So I shouldn't have told you, because I usually tell people I got my license when I was 10, because I'm not that old. But no, but I've seen so many people become so successful in this business after they've had other careers. Some of them, believe it or not, military, I think, have done. Teachers are some of the best. Yeah, I mean, they have a way to work with people. It's so interesting, and I'm sure you know this from your other work and your parents. It's not about selling houses. It's about, and life in general is about building relationships, right? It's just building relationships, like you did with your one client that you may now list a house with. So that's what I've always looked at. And my parents, when I was a kid, my parents had a little hotel restaurant.
So I wanted to take a look back at last year. Like, if I could pick your brain a bit, let's talk about how you think the business has changed in this last year.
Well, I mean, boy, the business has changed in the last 37 years. In the last year, obviously the biggest change is in our business is similar with other businesses. It's basically working remotely, but it's interesting. So what happened, my experience last year was amazing. I'm an eternal optimist. I always look at the bright side. So what happened to me was, all of a sudden this pandemic hit. I've got 2 sons and a daughter, my 31, 29, and 25. So the pandemic hit, and everything came out, and people thought we were going to go into potentially a worldwide depression. I always have a lot of deals going. I've built up this business, so we usually have double digits in the deals going. And so we had to go into salvage mode on our deals, because a lot of things were getting shaky. People were nervous. And we had one deal that we were selling a house here. It was our listing. We were representing the buyer. We're dual agents. And the buyer was selling his house in Fremont in order to get the money to buy this house. And the buyer for Fremont was a software engineer. He had a job, but he was nervous, so he backed out of that deal. So that deal was going to fall apart. But what I was doing was walking. I start my day every morning walking the beach. It's just the way I start. And I start working early. I'm looking at the phone. And at this point, they had closed Pebble Beach Golf Course. I was walking the golf course too. It was amazing. And I'm on the phone working, and the endorphins are kicking in. I'm thinking, what can I do on this deal? And then I realized, hey, my seller is a developer, and he has connections up in Fremont. Next thing you know, I said, well, go buy the buyer's house and look at that. He looked at it. So I ended up putting a trade deal together. So by thinking creatively, and I always think creatively, you want to think outside the box, we were able to salvage that deal. It was a pretty good sized deal. It was a $3 million dual agency sale. So that felt good, because I thought, okay, let's think creatively, get through this period. And then slowly our online leads started picking up. And then they really picked up, and I knocked on the door. I said, what's happening here? My phone started ringing, and I had a fairly big deal, which was also a dual agency deal on about a $7.5 million house. And those folks, I learn stuff every day. I am
Right.
expert at what I do, but I learn stuff every day about everything.
Yeah.
And I got to keep open. And sometimes I forget that, I'm not always right. We're always not always right. And two people can be right at the same time. But so we had these great clients, and they own the world's finest chocolate company. That's what it was called. And they make chocolates. They produce their own chocolate. They make chocolate candies and stuff that they give to a lot of or sell to schools and kids and charities that we sell them. You've seen those things, right?
Gotcha. Yeah.
And it had been a generational business. And this was the grandson of the person that founded it. And they were the nicest people. And they came in and started looking. They found this house. They love this house. It's quite unique. And then the pandemic hit, and then it got really bad. They could have easily pulled out during their contingency period. But what they said to me was, we love this house. This is not a house for 5 years or 10. This is for generational. And I looked at what they have done in their business, and think of their business has been through world wars. It's been through depressions, recessions. And I realized, real estate shouldn't be a short-term commodity. And that deal closed, and that was a big deal, right? And then you kind of get this momentum. You need confidence in this business. And that helped instill some more confidence. And then things just started picking up because the pandemic caused a shift, a paradigm shift in a lot of things. And one of those things was the first thing was they wanted to get out of the cities. And our biggest feeder pool for me, for a lot of these luxury homes, is Bay Area and Silicon Valley. And so all of a sudden it started going, and business really picked up. Things that changed was, yes, business picked up. Our buyer demographics were similar, but they were moving faster. And those folks could work remotely. It was interesting because I have rental houses in Carmel too, and they're very nice. And one of my tenants couldn't come. Well, the nice thing about that was my son and my daughter both came out to shelter in our beautiful, it is kind of a spread out house in Carmel, and they just brought their significant others. And I couldn't go in the office in the beginning, so I was officing out of there too. So I was able to hang with my grown kids, which is amazing, right? To be with them. They were all fortunate to be working. So we were all productive during this time, and we could spread out in this house, and it was exhilarating and amazing. But that's when it hit me, because I was talking to my cousins, and one of them's in New York, and she's the head of psychology at NYU, amazing doctorate, PhD, and love her. But she's Annie, my cousin Annie. She's trapped in her apartment with her cats, and there's people dying. So I realized, in times like this is, my parents taught me this. People have to step up. People have to step up, and we were in a position to step up. I have this team that's amazing. So to operate in this environment where we had to change all these rules, we had to follow COVID protocol, you had to post these things, you had to do this, that's a lot of work. I was on it. We were perfectly situated for this environment. I have this great team. I work a little differently. I don't have a lot of buyer's agents or seller's agents. I pretty much handle most all the deals myself. Everything goes through me, but I have this incredible support staff that I trust, and it's all about character. But we are perfectly positioned to do that. So we were ready to sell. And one of the things that changed too is we got more direct contact with buyers, not as much through other agents, because those buyers were contacting us directly via online and phone. So that benefited us. And we were able to accommodate them and meet their needs and wants immediately, because we could set up these showings. Meanwhile, we're thinking about what we can do. So one of the things I did, and it was interesting because my kids saw the genesis of this. I thought, how can we help people locally? Just what's going on? So I started a nonprofit called carmelgives.org. And that we have now built into probably the most effective, it's a movement basically, and we're an impact fund, and we've raised over $500,000 and already invested over $450,000 into the local community. When I say invested, we didn't hand people money, but like our first project was we hired seamstresses. So we put people back to work. So they're working, they're making money, they can feed their family, and they made masks for us. We made these cool masks. And these masks, there's a mask behind you there. And we then distributed these at different restaurants, and people would then go to a restaurant and support a restaurant and get a mask and then see about Carmel Gives. Our latest project was a restaurant grant program where the second shutdown was going to put people out of business. So we're working with over 20 restaurants, Carmel, Seaside, Monterey, Salinas even. And those restaurants are now making ready-to-eat meals, restaurant quality meals that they then deliver to certain charities, Boys and Girls, homeless shelters, things like that. So we established that. It literally got some restaurants to open up and then got them through a really difficult time. So it's like we invested to buy these meals. They hired back people to make the meals. They were able to keep their doors open. And then they had a sense of pride because then they could deliver a meal to somebody that needed it. And that connection, we hope, survives this pandemic. And what I've seen, you know, I'm going off on some little things or bigger things in the picture of what I've seen in the changes. And the biggest thing I've seen too is people helping other people and the communities gathering together and galvanizing to help each other. My partner's CarmelCares.org. They've got this community organization that's been formed. We help fund them, and they've been cleaning up the city, doing the city's work because the city couldn't do it. Getting into real estate, you know, it's gotten to be more reliant on tech, more reliant on Zoom. I had to get used to Zoom. I'm used to this, you know, but I've been, what I realized, Aquontis, was I've been working remotely since this thing came out, because most of my clients are, the majority of them are vacation home buyers, but even the primary home buyers, you're not meeting with them face to face every day on everything. It's all communication. And that's a big part of our business too, is the communication and emails and texts. So it became, the volume of communication doubled, and keeping up with it for me was difficult. It's tricky, but I just get up at 5:30. I start super early. I work later, but I don't work at night. Although I wake up and I think about things and I put things in perspective. I make notes. So I think the biggest change I've seen with respect to all the big picture stuff and helping society and helping people work together is it has become more reliant on technology, videos, people seeing houses. People are buying some houses sight unseen. We just sold a house, a $10 million deal. The guy put it in escrow. He did come out and see it a couple weeks later, but my seller was confident enough to put the deal in escrow with a guy that hadn't seen it yet. But now you have to qualify that buyer, not just financially, but would they like this kind of house?
Right.
That particular buyer, that agent, you qualify them a lot through the agent, that you build relationships and a trust that, you know, that agent knows what this client likes. Plus, I found out a house they tried to buy and didn't get that was very similar to this. And then you kind of see what they like. So, you know, that transaction happened without the guy seeing it. Now, he did see it before he closed, but there's people buying houses that close without seeing them.
Yeah, my parents deal with a lot of people who buy homes sight unseen because they're military. So, you know, my parents have gained a lot of faith with people because they match people with homes versus just saying, okay, cool, let's just do a deal. But you touched on a lot of stuff that ties into my next question for you. I often talk a lot about, or to my audience, a lot about the effect of a real estate agent can have on like different families and the community. How do you think you and Tim Allen Properties have impacted our community, and what insight can you share?
Well, you know, that's kind of what I started to share with you before. I think the single most important thing you can do in life is help other people. And you can help other people by helping yourself as well, you know, work together. It's interesting. You know, I started to mention, I grew up locally here, and my parents had the La Playa Hotel in Carmel, which is the biggest hotel in Carmel, but 76 rooms, right? So I never had an allowance, and my parents didn't like to hand things out to us, but I had a job. I started off in the laundry room, you know, when I was about 12, I think. And then I went from there up to I got to go up from the bowels of the hotel up to to be a dishwasher. But eventually I handled all the different departments, and it was interesting. That's a community in itself. There's so many different communities, and that community of the hotel, the people, and it's interesting with a lot of the tension that's going on in our country now. I grew up in this community, in this hotel down in the laundry room, working for this Filipino, Yuki was her name, you know, folding sheets. And I remember when we got a sheet folding machine, which was basically just a freestanding thing, that I thought that was the coolest technology. And I worked with people of color and people of different race and age and all these different things. And to me, it was like, it was just our community, you know? So
Right, yeah.
we would help each other out and work together. I have always been a team player. I played on teams. Sports is a big outlet of mine. I'm highly competitive, and my kids too. And I follow sports. I love the Warriors. The Warriors, I just love them. They're so fun to watch, and they're starting to play really well now. And the reason the Warriors have always been good, especially more recently, I think, is because they have good players, but it's the chemistry and it's the unselfishness that you have. And like with my team that I work with here, and what I like to do is help put people in positions to succeed. And that's people on my team, but also people that I meet and know, like reaching out to me, helping people, just little ways like that. So how have we, directly impacted the community? For years, we've given back because that's what you do. Financially is one way, supporting different causes. I like to be a little outside the box and not just, when I support a cause, some of my competition, you'll know them, and they take newspaper ads out and they list all the charities that they give to. I mean, come on, that's not what it's about. It's not about bragging. Exactly. It's about going to people. I've had friends that were going to lose their house. I helped cover a mortgage. I don't tell anybody about that. They don't tell anybody about that. But I try and do things that have direct impact and that don't take a lot of bureaucracy. And I also like to help give people integrity. When I meet someone, I go to Santa Barbara, it's one of our little vacation homes, and there's a lot of homeless people there. And I think one of the most important things you can do for someone like that is not hand them $1 or $5, but look them in the eye and say, "How you doing? Good morning."
Yeah.
And they say, "Oh, good morning." I said, "What's your name?" "Oh, Betty. I met Betty outside the Salvation Army. She was awesome." So we kind of get to know each other. So I think that's how you impact the community, is you build relationships with people and then help them. The Boys and Girls Club is one of my favorites. Ron Johnson's the CEO there. He's just an amazing person. And we do things for them. But what we also do is connect them with people. And that's what we do as agents, right? We connect people in properties and build these relationships. And I think if you can do that, along with financial support, that helps, but make sure that support is not diluted because it's going to some bureaucracy, right? Make sure it really goes to immediately helping people. So we've had actually a dramatic direct effect this year on our community. Carmel, between Carmel Gives and Carmel Cares, we've basically we've partnered with the city of Carmel. If you look at Scenic Avenue, we've got a project that cleaned up the entire Scenic Avenue. We partnered with them. We've got a new street cleaning machine that we bought for the city because they need to clean up the walkways and stuff. And they've got all these parklets. It's dirty, but remember, it's not just giving the city, because when you have a cleaner city, you get more people coming to our city, and that's our business, right? That's the city's business. Right. The more visitors we have, the more money they spend, the more it benefits everybody. So we've partnered with the city. We've made big impacts on the city, the Forest Theater, the medians, all this cleanup. We bought them equipment. We've worked with these restaurants, which have reached out because most of their employees don't live within the city of Carmel. I want Carmel Gives to be involved initially in the communities around us: Seaside, Salinas, Monterey, Pacific Grove. Right. So, and then we look at small things what we can do to make a big difference. Our last little donation was to the Sober Night Grad for Carmel High. I mean, look at those high school kids. What a bummer. I mean,
Yeah, I couldn't imagine. I can't imagine.
Yeah. So I think, we've stepped up a lot. And to be frank, one of the things that I'm kind of greedy in a sense, because when you do stuff like this, it makes you feel good.
Yeah.
And I really feel good about what we do. And it's not just me. I want to make sure that it's my team. You know, we give 5% of all our commissions right off the top. Boom, go to this Carmel gives right off the top.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
my team participates in this. So they're all contributing. But it just, when you do this stuff, it expands and it grows exponentially, you know?
Yeah. It sounds like you have a cycle of community, compassion, and care. Just always giving back, making sure you take care of basically our community, our people, everyone around you, because I mean, without them, we would be nothing. And I tell people that a lot.
Yeah.
So as a young person of color in our industry, is there any advice a seasoned agent like yourself would like to give me as far as building a brand like Tim Allen Properties that is connected to and recognized in the community?
Well, yeah, it's interesting. When I started the business, okay, so I graduated from college, and then I was on my mom's couch. I didn't study a lot, but I was a great test taker. You know, I was great at that. And so I said, well, I'm going to get my real estate license. And my mom said, yeah, okay. So I took, a couple online, it wasn't online classes. I think it was they mail you books or something back in the day. And I went up to take the test and she's like, well, you haven't gone to school for this or anything, but I did get my college degree and a couple of those things applied. I went up there and took that test and I had just finished taking finals. Okay. I knew how to handle that stuff. I was the first person out of that test and I think I got 99.9. I mean, it was just boom. But getting your license, and it's gotten maybe a little harder, is the easiest thing you can do in this business. That's step one, but it's easy.
Right.
And it's not easy. It takes time and effort now. I started immediately working in the business, but I didn't take a lot of seminars and stuff. I didn't do a lot of the training, but I learned, by doing, that's being involved will help you. And then when it came to building a brand, I never even thought about that for 10 years or 20 years, but I guess I was doing it. And my brand was just my name. It was Tim. It was Tim Allen. Right. And like things I did, I always like to think outside the box. And a lot of this comes to me like in the late afternoons when I work out hard and then my mind gets going. I'm like, what can I do? And I come up with these ideas. And some of them might be crazy, but I try them. And like I did at one point, I did advertising's expensive in the paper. But when you hold an open house, they put you in the paper, right? You don't pay for that. I did 3 open houses in a day. I'd do 10 to 11:30, 12 to 1:30, 2 to 4. And sometimes people would catch me at different open houses, and there's pros and cons. You can't go show property right after the open house, but my name would be in there. I did things like that. So I guess in general, I think that the best thing you can do, what I did was I kept my head down. I worked hard. I followed up. When you're new in the business, you'll have less buyers and it's hard to get a seller, but you'll get floor calls and you'll get leads and there's lead generation you sign up for. But I would say that one of the most important things you can do is know the market cold, know the inventory cold. Just study it. Jonathan Baylog, who's one of my partners, he came on the team 2 years ago or something. We were watching him, and he came out of finance and came here. He didn't know anybody, but he was constantly researching. He every listing that came on, he'd look at it. He'd get to know it. He'd look at market. He'd look at the statistics. He'd go in the computers. In fact, I think he got in a little trouble because he was kind of getting a little too deep into Coldwell Banker stuff. Right? And because he wanted to learn. But even before when I first started selling business, we had the MLS, but it was a printed magazine. And they'd have brokers tours. Now we don't have brokers tours now, right? So that's a handicap. You can't see the house. I like to see a house.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But knowing the inventory cold, and then also finding a market niche that you think is a good niche for you, but just be open, because bottom line, if you get a lead or a buyer that'll stick with you, you have more time potentially than some other agent that's got a lot of business to follow up with that buyer, to know everything, to send them the information. Now, today, those buyers are getting information sent to them maybe before you. So you got to stay on top of when the new listings come out. How do you get them first? And then you could do a drive-by. I think driving by is great, getting to know neighborhoods, but then really researching and getting to know how you can understand what a good property is just by seeing it online. But always, I think, in a personal visit, live is the most important thing in driving by. So I would say keep your head down, work hard, know the inventory, be available, take floor time. There's probably less call-ins than there were, but floor time at an office is great, or walking.
Oh yeah, I always took it.
Yeah, and take it whenever you can, because you can be working on floor time and you cover for people, build relationships with other agents. Do you work with anyone else now, or is it all on your own, or did you start working with somebody?
It's all on my own right now. I definitely have quite a few different relationships with people, just from, when we were in the office, communicating with people through social media, and even like being on the local government relations committee with MCAR. So I definitely connected with a lot of different people. So I definitely stay in touch. And I actually started a lot doing open houses because my parents, definitely encouraged me to do so. And that's definitely one of the ways to garner business. And one thing you mentioned was following up with people. And every open house I did, no matter how many I did each day, how many I did each weekend, I would call every single person that came by and just thank them for coming into my open house. And that's how I actually got one of my first clients. Is I called, I was hosting a open house in Pacific Grove, and I called, thanked them, all that, left a message, and they called me like a week and a half later, like, hey, you are literally the only agent to follow up with me and even just say, hey, thanks for coming by. So we want to work with you. We'll be down in 2 weeks. We'd love to see you there.
Yeah.
So,
and that's key. And I like those markets, by the way. Pacific Grove, Monterey, there's a lot of, there's transactions, right? And I think the competition, the quality of agents aren't quite as good, you have to look at, there's so many people that are in this business that are part-time and that don't follow up and things. So, I mean, you want to look at those different markets, but I just keep it wide open. Wherever a buyer,
wherever the business is, I'm there.
Yeah. Follow that. What else was I going to say? Oh, it'll come to me, but I mean, those are keys. Now, what office do you work out of?
Carmel Rancho.
Carmel Rancho. And then what was your background before you got into real estate? You said Best Buy manager for.
Yeah, so retail, I worked at a hotel as a night auditor, but mostly retail. So
I didn't like the hours as a night auditor.
I actually enjoyed it because at that time I was in school. So like I would go to school, do all my work, then go to work and then sleep a little bit and start it all over again.
It works that way. But.
Yeah. But mostly retail. I spent a lot of time, just learning how to build relationships with people. And for me, when I think about it and compare it to now, in those moments, I had to build those relationships right then and there, get them what they needed, teach them a couple things, and hopefully have them come back. And I had a lot of clients that definitely did that, especially when I was supervising in the computers department or the cell phone department. And then later on in that career, I was in charge of all of inventory and operations. So I took care of all the background stuff. I was like the ghost, making sure that everything ran. But, that really did teach me how to build relationships in a short-term way and, make it into a broader long-term thing. And I find that in real estate, we're building long-term relationships, because we're dealing with doing a transaction or, looking around for people for 30, 45, 90 days if necessary. So. Right.
Well, I wrote a couple notes down. I mean, one of the things that surprises a lot of people and other agents, and they'll tell about me is they say, God, Tim, you always pick up your phone. So the key is be available. That's key. And it's hard. I mean, I've been doing it for a long time and I'm available. My phone rings and my email, it's hard, it's relentless, but it's what I do. So that's number one. And that's building a brand. I think building a brand, you have to figure out what is your brand? What does your brand mean? I think my brand, and I always go back to the beginning. A lot of people say, you said what's changed in the year, what's changed in my career is that we have seen agents focus on closing deals by acting certain ways or having a script that they're taught or this, that, or the other thing. But what we should focus on first and foremost is what our job is. And our job is to be a trusted advisor to our clients, period.
Yeah.
It's called fiduciary duty. And I
Right.
think it's been abandoned by most of the people in this business. So I think first and foremost, and I get in a lot of complicated situations where I am a dual agent. I'm ready to take a listing and it's an estate sale and there's a trustee who was friends with the two owners that died and the money's going to go to a bunch of charities. So she's a trustee, she's a fiduciary for all those charities. So she called the real estate lawyer and they sent me the lawyer's feedback of the listing agreement I sent. And I wasn't supposed to get it. And I know the lawyer. But one of the things he said is, you can't have Tim be a dual agent because that would be, your fiduciary, he could have conflicts of interest and all this stuff. And I then got on the phone with him. I've been a dual agent hundreds and hundreds of times. I've never been in a lawsuit, but it's tricky because you have a fiduciary to both buyers. I had explained this to the lawyer. Now he's had a bad experience. Many agents that are dual agents, he told me about an experience where this guy listed this house, and as soon as it was listed, he brought an offer in from his own buyer who he had in the pocket before he even listed it, and the lady signed it, and then she realized this was a mistake. But so anyway, I had to convince him that that's not how I operate. But it's small town, so part of my brand, you build your brand. And what's your brand? Your brand is what you do and who you are and how you operate. So my brand is I'm Tim, and I will tell you the truth. I am highly competitive. I may have a big ego. I may have my flaws, but I will always be your fiduciary. I'm available. I'm competitive. I will go the extra mile for my clients. I'm knowledgeable. I'm an expert at what I do. I surround myself with great people. We have great marketing. So you built this thing, and then, the branding. I mean, we kind of came up with our logo just recently that we've kind of shifted, which I really like. And it was interesting because we had a lot of help from Coldwell Banker and their branding and all these different things. And I just want it. It's Tim Allen is the brand that we built. That's who people know. So that's what we should use. And then TA is also my brother is Tom, and my son is Tyler. So people all call us TA, and it's kind of cool. But so I would look at what your brand. I think you're building your brand now, and you don't really even know what that is yet, but you do know the basics, and when we grew up, it's simple. And I'm in a lot of these, I get in so many situations, homeowners associations and this and that, and renting your house and not renting it, and short-term rentals. It doesn't matter how long someone rents a house, it's a day, a month, or a year, or who it is in the community. It's how they treat the community. And this whole fiduciary thing, it wasn't hard for me because I wasn't a fiduciary when I was a kid growing up, but my parents taught me the golden rule, treat other people like you treat yourself. Don't BS people, don't take advantage of people, and so that's the basics there.
Right. I want to wrap it up a little bit because I know you're busy. We've definitely gotten a couple calls in. I recently talked to my audience about why I chose Coldwell Banker to, hang my license, as they like to say, when I started a year ago. And I updated them by talking about why I'm still with Coldwell Banker recently. I posted that video on, I believe, Monday. I'd love to know why you have been with Coldwell Banker for so long in this business.
Well, that's a great question. And it's interesting because most agents just jump around from company to company,
I've seen it.
There was someone. I started with my good friend's father. Chris Bach had a company called Real Estate by the Sea. So I joined him and I started selling some real estate. And then we were bought out by a company called Lyons Realty out of Sacramento. And Mike Lyons was the up and coming young guy. And we were going to take on the world. And I'm trying to remember when this was, what year that was, but the market was starting to boom and then it tanked. The real estate market went soft and they bought us and 2 months later closed the door. Okay. So then I joined Del Monte Realty, and Del Monte Realty was the local luxury brand, the premier brand. And it's funny, Rita Lewis was my manager, and she was great. And I'm a mischievous little guy and love to have some fun. And I remember I was walking, and Del Monte was, all the nice ladies and gentlemen and polished. And here's Tim Allen. And I remember I got interviewed by the weekly magazine. They said, "Tell us about your Valentine's Day." And I was right in front of our office. This is Realtor Tim Allen with Del Monte. And I said, "Well, yeah, gosh, that's the night I took my wife down to Ventana, the resort in Big Sur." I said, we drank some champagne, then we filled the bathtub with champagne and took a bath in it. And I said, "That's the night we conceived our first child." And it got printed in the paper. And, Rita sees this and go, "Oh my God," kind of funny side story. And I don't know if that's quite totally the way it happened, but it was a fuzzy night in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And then, so Del Monte then I worked for Del Monte, and I worked my way up to being the top agent at Del Monte. And then we were going to our awards, and Del Monte was affiliated with Pebble Beach Company and the lodge and everything. And, we had our awards banquets at the beach club and at the lodge. It was just first class. We'd go out afterwards. We'd get hotel rooms there. It was amazing. So we had our big meeting, and all of a sudden, no one knew this. Coldwell Banker had bought Del Monte Realty. And Coldwell Banker locally was kind of known as the diner of the real estate business, not the posh restaurant. It was more the average bread and butter company. So we're having our awards, and all of a sudden Rita announces this, and you should have seen these people and these women go, oh, it was just, they were devastated, like, what's going to happen here? And I walked up and I shook hands with the president. I said, "I'm happy to be on board." I didn't know a whole lot about Coldwell Banker. I knew a little bit about it. They invited us to the awards banquets, the international awards banquets. And I think they were in Dallas or Austin, one of those. And we sat together, our group, and it was really an interesting travel experience. Del Monte had never done that, but Coldwell Banker put this on, and the synergy you get when you're with your group traveling, and they put us up, and then the people you meet and the energy in these rooms and these awards, you're sitting in this, there's 10,000 people looking down at the stage, and they have all these breakout rooms, and it's pretty cool. I didn't win any awards that year, at least for Coldwell Banker. And so, but I started seeing what they could do, and the backing that they have and the tools they provide and the support they provide. And I saw this, and it started kicking in, and the management and what they did. And as my business grew, my relationship with Coldwell Banker solidified, and I enjoyed it, and I appreciated what they could do. We're independent contractors, and really I keep my heads down, and I have my own marketing department, but then to have this partnership with Coldwell Banker that has so many connections, and if you know how to draw on those connections and those tools, it can really add value. And they also, then they would have their awards, and we get invited, and I'd get these awards, and let me tell you, that's pretty cool. I don't like to go out and brag about a lot of stuff, but I have an ego. We all do, right?
Right.
And they just take good care of you. And I just don't see jumping around and commission splits. And when you have a company, there's been a lot of change and in this business, and you see Compass has come out. Well, they of course want to talk to me. Everyone wants to talk to me because we produce more commissions than most people in the world, right? So they'd like us at their place. And it was interesting. I met with Compass and the recruiter guy there, and he'd been with him for 5 months. He was a tech guy, and I talked about him. He started telling me. I said, "Well, tell me about the company." He told me about the 5 founders and major owners of the company, and they were all these incredible people. But every single one of them was from like Google, Oracle, whatever, all tech companies. Not a single real estate person. A single real estate person. And then you meet someone like Ryan Gorman. Now, and you learn it. And again, I don't have a lot of extra time, and I don't go to a lot of seminars, and I don't do a lot of the events because I just don't have time. Now, the international stuff, I'll try and get to when I can, but you learn. And he comes from that culture, and he understands the M&A business, and he understands how businesses grow and culture and technologies and everything. And what I kind of learned was Compass really is a technology play and less of a real estate play. And they're sort of buying their agents and buying everything, moving quickly. And where Coldwell Banker was behind in maybe the technology side, but they were always a real estate company at their core. And now they have, I think under Ryan's leadership, have really focused on, we need to be best, provide our agents the best technologies, the best tools, and we need to be at the forefront of this and agile. They need to be agile on how they use their technologies and how they train us to use their technology. So I think that I'm very comfortable that Coldwell Banker is the leading global real estate company. And, you know, it's easier for me because my relationship is 20, 25 years with them. And I've been, I think in their top 10 GCI for like that whole time. I don't know that anyone else has done that. This consistency that I've had and this relationship I've had, and, you know, I can reach out to them. And like last night I was thinking, God, I need some help with something and maybe they can help me with this, and I'll reach out to them. But they will help us with so much that with working with them, you know, we have the legal, we have the transactional help, we have the marketing support. They can get us, you know, Wall Street Journal things and just all the support we get. And, you know, I've got a lot going on now. When I have a little issue or here or there, I want to make sure I get my manager, Todd, involved right away. I said, Todd, here's a heads up. And he's getting a lot of calls from me these days. Hey, Todd, just a heads up. This is going on. I'm going to handle it the best I can. I'm going to handle it right. But there's so many different aspects in the transaction that, you know, little things can happen. But as long as you give them the heads up, and then you've got the support, the backing of the company. So I'm comfortable where I am. It was interesting. I get invited, or I crash some parties sometimes. I crashed Carmel Realty's party years ago when they just started, and they came to me and said, well, what would it take for you to sign here? And I said, well, you know, it'd take a $5 million signing bonus, and I'd want to go do this. And they kind of laughed. I said, well, maybe 10. They should have done it. I probably wouldn't have accepted it, but you know, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be beholden to anybody. Independent. I want to feel like I've earned my keep with this company. We are independent contractors, but it's an outstanding company that is committed to real estate. Technology is a part of it, but we're not here. I know they have other ways to make money, but their focus isn't selling information on clients to make money off those clients. Their information, their core is to support their agents, who then provide incredible service and advice to home buyers and sellers. Right.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with me, dropping a little bit of knowledge and being so encouraging. Like, you're a legend in our area, and I think I've only actually seen you once, and that was at the Education Expo last January.
Oh, was that up north?
Yeah, that was in Santa Clara.
Yeah.
So I mean, and that demonstrates the fact that you don't have a whole lot of time, so you're not just out hanging and whatnot. So I like I said, I really appreciate you stopping by and talking with me, dropping some knowledge and being so encouraging. And of course, I cannot wait to work a deal with you in the near future.
Yeah, we'll work on a couple just last tidbits. When you say drop knowledge, so whenever that phone rings, one of the things that I think I have a unique skill is engaging that person. And part of the engagement is listening and dropping knowledge. Drop some knowledge on that person that they didn't already know. That's key. And the other thing is, you mentioned legend. Definitely, I am a legend in my own mind.
Exactly. We all are. and I think that's the type of confidence that you reference we need to have as agents, because this is not a business for the faint at heart. We have to get out there and really be somebody that's like, hey, I'm a reckoning force. This is my client. Here's our offer. Take it. It's beautiful. Let's make a deal.
Well, and I agree, but I was being kind of facetious there. It's important to not lose your humility.
Oh yeah.
We're all the same. We're all the same around here, and we're all doing our best. And there's people out there that aren't the same as us. And those are the people that are kind of trying to keep an eye out after themselves and other people. But, you know, you work hard, you engage, you surround yourself with good people, and you do good things, and it happens. So I'm sure we'll work together, and we'll talk again.
All right. Well, I'll talk to you soon. Thanks, Tim.
Bye, Aquontis.